Hey everyone, how you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is $3 Theater. Today is the 30th of June, 2021. We're at the end of the month. Tomorrow is literally the halfway point of the year, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of weirdly excited for it. I feel like we've gotten over this odd hump over the course of the past roughly year and a half involving COVID. Movies are coming back almost in full force, at least in here in the state. The governor's like, get ready to open up for 4th of July. Never mind the Delta variant, but you know what? This isn't really a show for that kind of stuff. But it is talking about Hollywood and entertainment and the business. And one of the things that I've kind of noticed, and one of the things that I've kind of come to realize over the span of the last couple of years, is a lot of people who do this professionally, like those, not all YouTubers, but a lot of people who work for the media outlets out there. I kind of get the impression that they just hate movies and they really hate criticism to that particular fact, right? Now, I came across this exchange on online, and it's very fascinating. I just want to kind of quickly touch upon it. Now, there's a guy here by the name of Viewer Anon who is an inside source. He keeps himself anonymous, and he's talking about how he finds Falcon and Winter Soldier bored, and he's not even a big fan of Loki, and he's worried about Black Widow being dull. Now, Scott Mendelson, and if you've ever followed anything involving Scott Mendelson and his takes about Zack Snyder, you know that he's not really liked or loved or thought of well regarded in any of those particular scenarios. But here he responds back by also kind of throwing a little bit of shade at Shang-Chi, saying, and also how dull Shang-Chi looks. I'm getting worried that Marvel is basically going off the rails or wearing out their formulas right as they are pivoting to more inclusive superheroes, which is a terrifying thought. And so, look, it's a take that kind of I don't agree with, because Shang-Chi actually doesn't look boring at all. It looks like a lot of fun. Loki is an amazing show. I don't know how it's dull or it's boring at all. I don't get any of that. It's like these are people who their job is to analyze film and television and media for how it was created, with the intent of the person in mind and how they or the intent of the creator in mind and how they respond to it. By trying to sit there and say that, look, you can argue Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a bit on the dull side because it was Marvel's first attempt at making a show and they were still figuring it all out. Loki is leagues better, and not only acting but writing and set design and everything in regards to just being an overall better product, which has some amazing dialogue and great character development scenes. And it's one that's really interesting to see people kind of just dunk on. If you want to get more info on that, just as a quick side chill, my friend RJ and I did a full 38-minute discussion, spoiler filled, about Loki today. And it's one that I thought was pretty good. And it's a good episode to check out. If you want to see it, you can find it here on the channel. But when Scott made that comment about Shang-Chi, he got lambasted by a bunch of people who already didn't like his takes on everything. In fact, they were going as far as calling him a racist for talking about this and saying that, they were attacking him for being critical of Shang-Chi. Never mind that he was actually saying here that he is more for inclusive storytelling. But he does respond back by saying, kudos to every idiot on here acting like I said diversity was the problem. Inclusivity is the best chance for MCU and DC to keep folks interested in otherwise conventional superhero properties. But the films have to be good because superhero movies are no longer de facto events. To which case someone here responds, white idiot man thinks only white heroes are more more important because world revolves around white superheroes, which is not at all what he said. And I don't really want to be the one to come out and defend Scott Mendelson for his take. He can have whatever take he wants. I disagree. I think that Loki is amazing and Shang-Chi looks like a lot of fun, but at no point him being critical of Shang-Chi is even remotely racist. In fact, he's pushing for diversity and inclusion, saying that that is going to be the wave of the future and that he's not wrong, to be honest with you. But the responses back to him are just illogical, which again, I think when I talk about how I think a lot of these critics hate movies, they also hate people who watch movies even more. Like they're bored by the stuff they have to watch because they have to slog through not only the good films, but the bad movies as well. And the likelihood of them watching more movies that are terrible versus ones that are good or at least well received is pretty high. So I think after a while, there's just a level of burnout there, but it becomes comfy and it becomes easy because, I mean, let's be real here. How hard is it to sit down and just watch a movie and go yeah, I liked it or I didn't like it? Because that's kind of what it's boiled down to now. I mean, look at IGN and their review of last night's episode of Loki. They gave it a 5 out of 10, a 5 out of 10, a 5 out of 10. Are you kidding me? And people are shredding them for that. Now, granted, it is their dude's opinion, the reason why it got that low and a completely unnecessary score, but it's that person's opinion. And I guarantee you, going from this, that dude is probably going to have a more skewed look at properties like this, and then how to rate properties like this. And he might get an even larger chip on his shoulder as a result, because let's face it, a lot of us out there are stubborn, to where he might now grade it on a much harsher scale in order to just kind of give a big FU to people out there who are coming at him. It's a very weird place to be. And I do think that burnout is a big factor involved in all these kind of things. And as a person like me who just loves movies and loves talking about them, I never really kind of like feel I'm ever going to have that problem. And I'll tell you why, because I used to work for movie theaters a long time. I've watched good, bad, and ugly films constantly for years, but I always try to find the good in a movie. I try to find what's entertaining about a film, and I don't just come right out and trash it without good reason, in my opinion. Now, granted, I've been a little bit like salty towards Space Jam: A New Legacy on social media, but there's a difference between creating art and then you know, the prospect of you know, soulish cash grabs, and the Space Jam: A New Legacy is not anything other than a soulless cash grab. Now, let's talk about this weird thing that came out of Warner Brothers today. Now, granted, not officially, this thing leaked online somehow, but apparently we got a bit of insight, a bit of look into The Flash, with a 58-second long sizzle reel that contains some serious spoilers, although they were actually blocked by a number of spoiler tags. In fact, this is what I was able to pull from the video itself. You might happen to see here that these are blurred images, and that has everything to do with I don't want Warner Brothers coming in and yeeting my channel, but you get a pretty decent idea for what to expect in regards to this movie from the sizzle reel. But the question then becomes, where did it come from? Where exactly did it originate? How did it happen? Because what they show us in this little sizzle reel has Ezra Miller talking about how there's multiple Batmen in the movie, which we knew, but he used the term multiple Batmen, not saying one Batman or two Batmen, but multiple, which could imply a couple different things. We know Ben Affleck is in it. We know Michael Keaton is in it. In fact, Michael Keaton's Batman is kind of all over this promotional material, or this sizzle reel material, this artwork material. We know that. And then it could be maybe Christian Bale. There's been talks about potentially Christian Bale coming back on board. Or maybe George Clooney, if he wants to get a big paycheck from Warner Brothers, which, to Clooney's credit, he will fully admit he did the Oceans movies as a way to get a large paycheck to fund his smaller properties or his smaller projects. And just like yesterday or the day before, Steven Soderbergh was out there going like, I have an idea for Oceans 14, which case Warner Brothers right now, which is really in the, really in the business of just IP mining everything. They might come back and do another Oceans movie. I don't know why Oceans 12 and 13 weren't the best movies on the planet. They weren't terrible, but they weren't that great either. So who knows, maybe they want to come back and redeem the franchise in some way. But without Carl Reiner, I don't want them to go anywhere freaking near it. That is, of course, just my take. So anyway, Clooney could potentially come back if the paycheck is big enough. But this particular piece of Flash media that is being censored across the internet, Warner Brothers is coming in with massive ban hammers on not only Twitter, but YouTube, and even TikTok is getting taken down. And a lot of people out there are now flocking to it to try to find out just exactly what they show, which might, and as I've said this before, I think Warner's puts this kind of stuff out there, especially with The Flash, in order to push the conversation. And so they want to come out and they want people to talk about it, but then they'll go and they'll start DMCAing things and taking them down. So it creates that fear of missing out, and people then flock to it to see exactly what it is. And then that Warners can still protect their image while being the ones who are behind that leak. Now, look, that is just a theory, because this particular piece of information, a lot of people think came from DC Fandom. Actually, I think, because that's not until like mid-October, I don't think this is from DC Fandom. This is from the recent Warner Media Upfront that they just had, where they were showcasing the teasers for like House of the Dragon and a bunch of other things that they're working on. And obviously this is a little sizzle reel that they wanted people to see in order to know that The Flash is coming along nicely. Now, will this footage be repurposed for DC Fandom? If you want my honest opinion on that, the answer is yeah. I think this is footage that they're going to show at the Warner Media Upfront and then just repackage it, remove the spoiler tags maybe for the release of DC Fandom in October when the production of the film has wrapped up. And we probably are also going to get a first trailer following this sizzle reel. At least that's going to be my take on it. But in the meantime, a lot of people are talking about The Flash, and there's a lot of DC fans really excited, which kind of, and one of the things I've seen today has been that there's not a lot of like talk about like the Snyderverse today. You know, there's not a lot of talk about this in the negative. People are actually really excited. They're breaking it down. They're hypothesizing. They're speculating. But a lot of it isn't tied back into Zack Snyder, which doesn't mean that the Snyder fandom is going to stop trying to either boycott this movie or push this movie in one direction or another, or hashtag I stand with Ray Fisher. I don't know what it is they're going to do. But I've been seeing like a lot of people talking about this, and not a lot of people out there are really kind of, you know, pushing that Snyder angle. So as a Snyder fan who is completely in the corner of saying that the whole thing is done, I'm very happy to see that this project is now kind of being allowed to stand on its own 2 feet. And maybe that has something to do with the fact that, you know, Aquaman 2 is filming and Amber Heard is in it. And a lot of people, again, really don't want Amber Heard in that movie. And for some reason, I just like, it boggles my mind because I was talking about it with people on Twitter and I'm like, look, she's in the movie. They're filming it right now. She's going to be in the movie. And then people are like, no, but they can just remove her. They can digitally remove her. They did it with Tig Notaro in an Army of the Dead. Like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Like, it's becoming too much on that front, you guys. It's becoming way too much. But I'll tell you what may be too much, but I still want it nonetheless, is Quentin Tarantino is out there right now doing the rounds for his Once Upon a Time in Hollywood book, and the subject for Kill Bill Volume 3 came up because it's been nearly 20 years since that film came out. We're coming up on 18 years this fall, and if you remember, he wanted to do a sequel with the movie down the road when Vernita Green's daughter was of age, like 18 years had passed, or when she was 18, in order to make an attempt to go and take out the bride. But he actually had a very interesting casting choice in mind. And that, of course, would be, Quentin Tarantino says he would love to cast Maya Hawke as the bride's daughter if Kill Bill Volume 3 moved forward. This, of course, is Uma Thurman's daughter. Maya Hawke looks a lot like her mother, more like her mother than her father. That is 100%. And that to me is fascinating because that could give us a very cool film. And Maya Hawke is a good actress. Now, I've seen other people speculate for Vernita Green's daughter that potentially Zendaya would be a good actor to take on that particular role. And I do think Zendaya is a good actor as well. So having that just kind of fan casting in my head and putting that together is pretty cool. I would love to see a Kill Bill Volume 3. If that is going to be Quentin Tarantino's final film, if he's only going to do one more and it's Kill Bill Volume 3 and it's giving us the rest of that story, even though it doesn't necessarily need to happen, it would actually open the door for Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair, to finally get done so I can get my hands on it with all the deleted scenes, that we know exist. We want to see it. Hashtag release the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair cut, because that could be a lot of fun. So that's what we know about that one, and that's going to be pretty fascinating to see nonetheless. Another little cool thing that was announced today is that we're going to be getting The Simpsons, The Good, The Bart, and The Loki is going to be dropping on Disney Plus here very soon here. I think it's on July 7th is when this thing drops. Obviously, this is very much playing into the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe shows on Disney Plus, just like they had The Force Awakens from a Nap just came out I think about a month or two ago. The little 4-minute Maggie Simpson Star Wars themed short, which was actually really cute. Although I still have a question about the BB-8s. Why were there so many BB-8s? Why were there so... that part still makes no sense to me. I don't get it at all. Maybe it's a reference that I'm missing. I don't quite know yet. But this new one, I don't know what it's going to be about. But if it's going to be Bart in Marvel, I'm hoping it's a little bit longer than 4 minutes. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit edgier. And I think we're in for a good time. And I'm hoping it's going to be fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So another thing that happened today, which is really fascinating, was the fact here that James Franco has now agreed to pay $2.2 million to resolve a lawsuit alleging that he pushed acting students into performing in increasingly explicit sex scenes on camera. This was a big story when it dropped because it came out during, like, I would say, like, kind of in the beginning, in the middle, in the mix of the Me Too movement, and a lot of people were using this as a way to try to cancel James Franco. So much so that even Seth Rogen at this point has effectively said that he's not going to work with his best friend anymore, the guy that they built their careers up together. They're not going to, all of that kind of stuff. But in this particular class action lawsuit, from what looking into it, there is going to be a payout for the two women who were the primary complaints, the primary complainants, I think is the word I want to use here, in the particular class action, for saying that they were, put into these situations. And then there's going to be legal fees taken out. And then there's going to be a remaining pool that other women who were in the program, who also may feel like they were put in those kind of situations, could collect out a payday as well. And look, the reason why a class action lawsuit is being talked about like this, the reason why that all of this is being done in the way that it's being done, is so James Franco in his acting school more or less just has to admit no fault, right? They're not admitting guilt in this at all. In fact, I think the statement that they said something along the lines of like, we want to get to the bottom of this. Obviously, we need to be more aware of this kind of stuff. I mean, you're paying out over $2 million here to basically make it go away without ever having to admit fault. But people are going to believe what people are going to believe. And I think James Franco, his career might be a little bit kind of put on hold for a while. But then again, I mean, Kevin Spacey is kind of coming back. And so people are now having to deal with Kevin Spacey making a return to Hollywood 4 years after his Me Too allegations. But then again, nothing legal has come out of that. And there is some weird stuff on that as well. But the biggest story of the day has to be the fact here that Bill Cosby is now being released from prison after the Pennsylvania Supreme Court overturned his conviction. And I know this is a Hollywood themed show. But this is a big deal here, guys. This is a really big deal. Bill Cosby is a bad dude. I'm just going to say it. All right. No, regardless of what Felicia Rashad was putting on Twitter, probably in hopes of getting some of that rerun cash that was taken away when they pulled all the episodes of The Cosby Show in syndication. Bill Cosby has openly admitted since at least 2015 to having provided quaaludes to women unbeknownst to them with the mindset of having sex, which, I'm sorry, that is sexual assault. However you want to frame it, he's admitted this. Now, you might be asking yourself just what exactly happened in order for the Supreme Court to overturn this particular ruling. Well, what happened effectively was that during the trial, prosecutors brought out all of these character witnesses. Right? They brought out, I think, 5 women to more or less kind of run, I don't want to say like a hatchet job because that's not accurate, but to give their side of the story in regards to what Bill Cosby has done. Now, the deal for this to happen, for the defense to let this happen, was that this particular act would mean that these women could not get justice ultimately for what Bill Cosby had allegedly, or no, he's admitting it. So at this point, I think it would be what he had done, but he couldn't be prosecuted for it. He's being prosecuted for the crime that he's there in court for, but he's not going to be prosecuted for these 5. And the Supreme Court looked at that more or less as saying, wait a minute, this isn't getting a fair trial because you were the DA didn't let that be known, and it was kind of hidden away and swept under the rug, or the prosecutors didn't, which I think would be the DA. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But really what it boils down to is just that they fucked up. They fucked up real bad. And so now the Supreme Court is going to overrule this because it doesn't appear like he got a fair trial, and now he's walking free. But here's the thing. He's 83 years old. Are they going to go through the process again of putting him behind bars, or are they just going to let him slink off into the night and then die and be gone? That's going to be the question. Now, I think some people out there are going to heavily push. I know Gloria Allred, who represented a number of the women, I think 33 women who have had complaints against Bill Cosby. She is furious at this, which makes all the sense in the world. But then again, is the legal system going to want to expend the cash and the capital to go through this one more time? That's the problem with the legal system in a nutshell. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. But if he doesn't go back, I don't know where it stands on civil trial right now, but I'm pretty sure if there's not one, there will be very, very, very soon. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Again, that's been a wild situation, a big day overall. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I want to hear your guys' opinions on this because, again, the day's been crazy. So let me know down in the comment section. Be sure to tune into the channel tonight for obviously another live stream, chit-chatting about all sorts of things. Who knows yet? It's going to be a lot of fun. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.